So, I don't know about y'all, but I always like to find something new in the scriptures. And I don't mean finding something new like discovering a lost manuscript from a book of the Bible that we never knew existed before. I'm sure that'd make a really great next Indiana Jones movie. Anything can be better than those crystal skulls. But anyway, what I'm talking about is hearing the same story that we've heard time and time again, finding something new in it. Some different meaning, some subtle differentiation, some little nuance that changes our understanding just a little bit. When I was a child, most of my Sundays were spent in church, and most of my time in church was spent sleeping. But I do remember one sermon from when I was little, and it will stick with me always. Mr. Grisso was our minister at the time. I was probably 5 or 6 years old. And I remember before he read the scripture, he said, "This is a story you have all heard before." I think it was the story of the Good Samaritan. "But I invite you to listen to it as though you have never heard it before." And that's a good way to go to Scripture, to these stories that we have heard, that we have read time and time again. And when we do that, sometimes we find something new. So, for example, today is what? Did you notice that in the Gospel of Luke there are no palms? Anybody catch that? And yet still it's Palm Sunday. Well, it could be lots of things, I guess. I guess probably what would be better for today would probably be Cloak Sunday, right? Because that's what they did. They threw their cloaks on the ground. It's probably the most appropriate name for today would be Triumphal Entry Sunday, but all that is beside the point. So one of the new things that I noticed this time had to do with the bit about the colt. So if you remember the story, it all happens before the procession. Before the procession, Jesus sends 2 of his disciples into town, into the village, and says to them, "Go into the village, and there you will find a colt tied. Untie it and bring it to me. If anyone stops you, simply say, 'The Lord has need of it.'" And of course, they go into the village. They go into the village, and there they find a colt tied up. And someone stops them and says, "What are you doing?" And they say, "The Lord has need of it," and off they go. Does that seem a little fishy to anybody else? I mean, try to think about that in modern terms. Okay, you're standing out in your front yard. You see your neighbor's car sitting on the other side of the street. Suddenly, 2 people you have never seen before get into the car, and as they're getting ready to drive off, you say, "Hey, what are you doing?" And they say, "Oh, the Lord needs it." "Oh, okay." "No, 911. That's what you're doing, right?" It seems a little odd. But it does seem to suggest there's something significant going on. When I read it this time, it made me think of Star Wars. Episode 4, the one from 1977. Okay? Obi-Wan and Luke are in the speeder going to a town, it's actually a spaceport, and they get stopped by some stormtroopers. And in the back of the speeder with Obi-Wan and Luke are R2-D2 and C-3PO. Y'all are looking like none of you have seen Star Wars. Well, anyway, they're in the speeder, and the stormtroopers are looking for these droids. And when they stop and ask Luke for his identification papers, Obi-Wan says, "You don't need to see his identification papers. We don't need to see his identification papers. These are not the droids you're looking for. These are not the droids we're looking for. He can go about his business." "You can go about your business. Move along. Move along. Move along." "What are you doing?" "The Lord has need of it." "Oh, okay." Think about it. For the first time, Luke had no idea that that was a Jedi mind trick. I mean, we all know it's a Jedi mind trick, right? But Luke didn't. It was mysterious. It was odd. It suggested that there was more going on than he realized. That was the new thing popped out to me when I thought about these disciples grabbing the colt. The Lord has need of it. Oh, okay. There is something more going on. Another new thing that occurred to me as I was looking at the scripture is this scripture might suggest a new way of understanding the Pharisees. So the Pharisees are generally thought of as the bad guys, right? Generally, the Pharisees are the ones who are always out to trap Jesus in the Gospels. They are always the ones out to try to trick Jesus in the Gospels. They are always the ones who are always trying to prove that Jesus doesn't know what he's talking about in the Gospels. And Jesus, for his part, oftentimes uses the Pharisees as a foil in making examples of them and their actions in his ministry. And so we Christians, when we hear Pharisees, we tend to think of them as the bad guys. But not all of them. I mean, if you remember, to be a Pharisee, you didn't have to be a bad guy. To be a Pharisee meant that you were a leader in the religious community. You were not a priest. You were like an elder in a church. You were a leader in the religious community who only wanted to serve God and serve others. Now, some of these Pharisees that we tend to group together as bad guys, some of them were actually friends and followers of Jesus. So, when Jesus goes through the procession, and after the people in the crowd say, "Blessed is the King who comes in the name of the Lord," the Pharisees come to Jesus and say, "Teacher, tell the crowds to be silent." Now, if the Pharisees are bad guys, that sounds like, "Teacher, tell these crowds to be silent." Kind of sounds sort of arrogant and demeaning. I mean, can you imagine the audacity of these Pharisees saying to Jesus, "Tell them to be quiet"? But if they are friends and followers of Jesus, everything changes. And if they are there in the crowd of people who are throwing their cloaks down at Jesus' feet, chances are they're excited about what Jesus is doing. They could be friends and followers. And if they have enough respect for Jesus to call him teacher rather than anything else, chances are these are friends and followers of Jesus. There is nothing here to suggest that these are the Pharisees that are out to trick and to trap Jesus. These Pharisees are friends and followers, and they are saying, "Teacher, please tell these crowds to be silent." So think about what's going on right now in Jerusalem. This is the beginning of the week for Passover. Now, Passover was the annual celebration of the Jewish people when they celebrated God liberating them from a foreign power that controlled their lives. In Jerusalem, the Jews are under control of a foreign power that controls their life. In Jerusalem, that foreign power, the Roman Empire, has set up a puppet king, King Herod. Herod is a king for Rome, even though they call him king of the Jews. He does whatever the Romans tell him to do. And here we have people saying, "Blessed is the king who comes." The Pharisees know that this could be problematic. See, every year at Passover, the population of Jerusalem doubled or tripled in size as all of these Jews came together to celebrate their national heritage and religious identity. And at that time, that is when the governor would come. Do you ever wonder why Pilate is there that week? He didn't live in Jerusalem. Pilate came from Caesarea Philippi, I think, and came in there to make sure everything stayed calm. Pilate came in with his troops, with his military, to keep the peace, to make sure no one started a national riot or fervor. And so to hear someone say that this man, this Jew, this Jesus, blessed is the king, the Pharisees knew that they could be in trouble. As friends and as followers of Jesus, this shows the Pharisees' concern for the crowds and for Jesus. And that's a new way of looking at the Pharisees. Now, when we look at all of this, a question that I always like to ask, and I'm always curious about, and maybe you are too, is this event, this Palm Sunday, this Cloak Sunday, this whatever Sunday, triumphal entry, was it spontaneous or was it planned ahead? Do you ever think about that? Like, did this just happen one day? Or were people out there weeks ahead of time planning this out? And I'm not really sure. I mean, on the one hand, if it was spontaneous, it could be beautiful. You know, if it's spontaneous, it's kind of like when you're at a football game and all of a sudden the wave breaks out. You know? All of a sudden you're like, oh. You see what's going on, and it's kind of wonderful and beautiful if everyone comes together. But if it's planned out, that's kind of beautiful too. If it's planned out, then it shows that these disciples were willing to take part in something that they knew was dangerous for their Lord. Whether it was spontaneous or planned out, it's still, either way, it's a rather beautiful moment. I posed this question to our lectionary group, my colleagues in ministry here in the area, about whether or not they thought Palm Sunday was spontaneous or an act of forethought. And the good Reverend Nick Setzer over at St. Andrew put it in a great way. He said, it's like the movie Aladdin. When Aladdin and the genie process into the city as Prince Ali, suddenly Aladdin announces himself with a procession and a parade into the city. Prince Ali is being announced and is coming into town so that everyone must know. But not everybody's in on it. Some of the people who are there that day, they just get excited and they join into the fervor and the excitement and they start singing and dancing that Prince Ali is here. I think that maybe this triumphal entry is a little bit of that as well. A little bit of both. I think that it was a planned event, that Jesus knew what he was doing, and that the people who were there that day joined in the excitement and the frenzy. You know, when the Pharisees tell Jesus to keep the crowd silent, he says to them, if these were silent, even the stones would shout. The stones would shout because there is something significant, something important, something spectacular that is about to happen, whether we know it or not. As Christians, this procession, this beginning of the week, marks the fulcrum, the center point of our history that is about to happen. Jesus is intentional about making this statement. Something is about to happen. Something will happen that will change the world forever. Even the very bones of creation, the stones themselves, know that something is about to happen. And the people who are there that day, they get caught up in this excitement, in this energy, in this tension, in this fervor, in this anticipation of whatever it is that's about to happen. We know what it is. Jesus knew what it was. Jesus was intentional about this procession because Jesus was making a statement. Get ready, because everything is about to change. And the people who were there felt it. And they got caught up in the spontaneity and the frenzy. Today is Palm Sunday. It is Passion Sunday. It is Leaf Sunday. It is Cloak Sunday. It is Triumphal Entry Sunday. Whatever you call it, this is the day that lets us know things are about to change forever. Amen.